There are towns in America where progress didn't fail, it just wasn't invited. Where roads bend for water, boats replace cars, and daily life still runs on tides instead of clocks. Modern America showed up once, realized the swamp wasn't negotiable, and quietly moved on. These places aren't abandoned. They're not historic reenactments. They're just still living like this. Today, we're counting down 14 swamp and bayou towns that feel stuck in another century, ending with the one that nearly vanished altogether. Starting by number 14, Jones, Louisiana. Jones barely qualifies as a town. About 50 residents, one thin road, low wooden homes, a tiny postal stop that feels optional. There are no signs trying to lure you in, because Jones was never meant to be found. Life revolves around family, church, and small farming, the same rhythm rural Louisiana followed decades ago. Jones didn't reject modern life, it simply never got invited. And once you realize how many places quietly slipped through history's cracks, the next town feels a little less accidental. Number 13, Reeves and MerryVille, Louisiana. Reeves is what happens when development loses interest halfway through. Two-lane roads, pine forests, and bayous that curve away instead of connecting anywhere useful. MerryVille sits near the Sabine River, where logging and river trade once mattered. When they faded, nothing rushed in to replace them. Old storefronts survived not because they were protected, but because nobody bothered to modernize them. Progress usually needs pressure. These towns never had any. But isolation alone doesn't freeze time. Water does. Number 12, Thibodaux, Louisiana. Founded in 1838, Thibodaux still moves at bayou speed. Live oaks stretch over narrow streets, churches anchor entire neighborhoods, and the town's layout reflects slow water commerce, not highways. Yes, there's a university. Yes, there's modern life, but sugarcane fields, crawfish harvests, and old French traditions still shape the calendar. Thibodaux didn't preserve its past on purpose, it just never rushed past it. And once you leave town limits, the bayou gets even quieter. Number 11, Del Cambre and Abbeville, Louisiana. Del Cambre doesn't market shrimping, it lives it. Shrimp boats line canals, festivals revolve around fleets, not tourists. French still slips into everyday conversations. Nearby Abbeville and Erath feel locked into a mid-20th century rhythm. Low wooden houses, parish churches, and communities shaped more by food and faith than by schedules. Here, crawfish boils aren't nostalgic, they're just dinner. And deeper down the bayou, dinner sometimes comes straight from the water. Number 10, Grand Isle, Louisiana. Grand Isle is Louisiana's only inhabited barrier island. One road, one bridge, endless water. Shrimping camps stand on pilings. Fishing piers look permanently exhausted. When hurricanes hit, residents leave, then come back and rebuild on the same spot. Some camps have stayed in the same families for over a century, upgraded only enough to survive the next storm. Grand Isle doesn't feel frozen in time. It feels locked in a loop, and once you see that resilience, you start noticing it inland too. Number 9, Bayou Gauche, Louisiana. Bayou Gauche began as families spread along swamp ridges and mud roads. Older residents still remember when shell-covered roads were considered modern. For generations, people lived off alligators, muskrats, fish, and clamshells, selling shells to build New Orleans itself. Native American burial mounds once dotted the area. French coins still surface after floods. Here, history isn't preserved, it resurfaces. And some places hold on to the past because letting go would mean letting go of the land. Number 8, Golden Meadow and Leeville, Louisiana. These towns sit so close to the Gulf that the land feels temporary. Roads barely rise above water. Houses stand on stilts. Boats park under living rooms like it's completely normal. Life here follows tides, offshore shifts, and storms, not calendars. Hurricanes don't end these towns, they pause them. That rebuild and return cycle keeps streets looking permanently mid-century. When the ground itself keeps moving, modernization becomes optional. And further down the bayou, isolation becomes a feature. Number 7, Galliano and Cut, Louisiana. These towns grew directly along Bayou Lafourche, when water was the only transportation that mattered. Main streets were once bayou banks. Shrimping fleets still line the water. Catholic churches anchor communities shaped by Acadian exiles and Isleño families who moved here specifically to avoid control. Traditions stayed because they weren't curated, they were necessary. Galliano and Cut don't reenact history, they live it. And if this feels deep bayou, there's deeper. Number 6, Chauvin and Lower Terrebonne Parish, Louisiana. Chauvin stretches along Bayou Petit Caillou like someone forgot to compress the map. Shrimp boats sit in front yards. French surnames dominate mailboxes. Cajun French still echoes between older neighbors. For most of its history, Chauvin was reachable mainly by boat. That isolation protected language, culture, and a way of life untouched by suburban sprawl. Modern America didn't fail here, it just couldn't reach it. But isolation doesn't always mean safety. Number 5. Okefenokee Fringe Towns, Georgia and Florida. The Okefenokee Swamp has hosted human life for over 4,000 years. Towns like Folkston grew from logging and turpentine, but the swamp resisted full industrialization. Dirt roads, small churches, and water-based skills still define daily life. When the area became a wildlife refuge in 1937, commercial pressure faded and the old rhythms stayed. Here, geography protected culture, and sometimes protection comes with a cost. Number 4. Pointe-aux-Chênes, Louisiana. Pointe-aux-Chênes sits on narrow ridges barely above marshland. Houses stand on tall stilts. Boats are lifelines. The community is largely Cajun and indigenous, shaped by subsistence fishing and generational knowledge rather than infrastructure. Modern systems don't work well here, so people rely on each other instead. It's not frozen in time. It's operating on different rules. And nowhere shows that more clearly than the island that's almost gone. Number 3. Ile de Jean-Charles, Louisiana. Once 22,000 acres, now barely 320 habitable ones. Ile de Jean-Charles became a national symbol of climate displacement. Federal programs funded relocation, yet some families chose to stay. Why? Because this island wasn't just land, it was refuge. For indigenous families, Cajun settlers, and people escaping plantations. Here, the past didn't fade. It fought to stay. And when survival defines daily life, time becomes irrelevant. Number 2. Golden Age Bayou. Louisiana as a region, across Louisiana's bayous, entire regions still operate by 19th century logic. Water first, land second. Work follows tides. Families rebuild instead of relocate. Language survives without permission. These places aren't old because they're poor. They're old because they chose continuity over convenience. And one place embodies that resistance better than any other. Number 1. America's Deep Bayou Swamp Towns. There is no single town at number 1, because the real answer is the bayou itself. A network of water-bound communities that modern America never fully conquered. Not with highways, not with zoning, not with speed. Here, time doesn't move forward, it moves sideways. And once you see that, modern life starts to feel like the strange experiment. These towns weren't left behind, they stayed on purpose. While the rest of the country chased speed, these places chose survival, memory, and rhythm. And maybe the real mystery isn't why they feel like another century, but why we stopped living like this. I'll keep finding the world's hidden corners. You just have to click subscribe to come along.